Okay, hi everyone. Let me just pull up the questions quickly. Okay, this week we don't really have that many questions. So let me just share my screen and then we'll get straight to it. Okay, so here is my screen. And all right, let's just go through the questions. Hi, Joe. I have missed so many of these due to moving. Before this, I know that my biohacking was helping my autoimmune system. It's been a real struggle trying to get back to a functioning baseline. So my question is, how does photosensitivity play a role in triggering the immune system? I'm now exposed more than ever before, and I realized and I relied on the sun exposure in the management of my immune and sleep disorder prior to the move. Now, after I come back, and my skin produces red blotches and I get full flare-ups to my joints. I'm a carrier of heterozygous FECH gene, and I'm a carrier for familiar Mediterranean fever. Could hyperphotosensitivity be a partial expression? Is there such a thing as a partial expression of gene mutations in symptomology? I have had a great result from your recommendations, especially the sun exposure, as I have ever single one of these. Lower cannabinoid, I have every single one of these. Lower cannabinoid function, higher Th1 or Th17 dominance, lower PPAR gamma with serotonin 2 receptors, inflammation, lower DRD2. Okay, so the sun has really been a saving grace for me in my health, and I'm not sure what, if anything, can reduce my photosensitivity symptoms so that I can continue to benefit from it. I'm continuing with the other things that I can afford on your recommended list, and I just want to let you know how thankful I am for the knowledge base. I appreciate you all. I actually moved to a place where the sun. Okay, thank you, Ilya, for your kind words. What I'm wondering is, what kind of photosensitivity do you have? So you mentioned that your skin produces red blotches and you get full flare up to your joints. And this is, I mean, what's the background here? Like how many, I guess, let's see, are you here? Yes, you are. Okay, so you can speak up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's just a lot of pain, and then a lot of the energy that I used to get from being out in the sun and everything is gone. So
how long are you out in the sun?
And not very long, honestly, because right now it's just too hot. But just 15 minutes will do that to me right now.
Whereas, and where are you in? Which state are you in?
I'm in California. I moved from the Ozarks over to the Coachella Valley for the sun.
Wait, where is that in
Southern California.
Which county?
Riverside County.
Oh, I see. Okay. Mm-hmm. And when you moved, you started to have that problem?
Yeah, unless I just didn't notice it before, but it's just like red spots on my skin that go away after about 2 hours. And then my joints have hurt.
Okay. So where did you live before?
I lived in Springfield, Missouri.
Springfield, Missouri. Okay. Yeah. So Let me just see what your situation was before. So Springfield, Missouri is there. Okay. Oops.
And there's definitely a lot more sunshine here. That's why I moved, but it just, I don't know. I can't get out there as long as I was before.
Okay.
Getting my joints hurting, and you know,
and how long did that happen after you moved?
It started right away. Actually, it's just been something I've been dealing with. So I just thought maybe it was, I don't know, photosensitivity, or I don't know what else it could be. Stress, maybe.
Wait, sorry, I got disrupted. What did you say?
I said,
yeah.
Where did you hear? Well, I started getting this about a month after I moved here, but where I get the sun exposure and then I come back in, and about an hour later I feel like all my energy is gone, and then my joints start hurting really bad, and those red spots. They're not raised or anything. It's just spots on me.
Mm-hmm. So what I think is happening is I think you're probably reacting to something from your environment. Riverside has a lot of various kinds of pollution.
Oh, okay.
It does have more sun, but it also has more pollution.
Okay, that makes sense.
What was Springfield like? I mean, like we could look at something like ozone levels or something like that.
I think the ozone levels are a lot higher here versus there, probably.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we could quickly check up. You were in Springfield, Missouri.
Yeah.
We could check up the air quality there, because it's probably something to do with the air quality if you moved and then all of a sudden the changes happen. Mm-hmm. So it has moderate, has a 71 rating here. The main pollutant is ozone. So let's check Riverside. Oh, interesting. This is why I looked it up. It's not, you know, if you're moving from one environment to another, the first thing you want to look at is air quality.
Okay.
Because that's, you know, if all of a sudden symptoms changed when you moved, you want to look.
This was actually 160 something the other day, so that actually makes sense.
160 something. What do you mean?
The ozone here where I'm at now, it was like in the 160s in the red zone here on your screen.
Oh, it was on the red zone. Got it. I don't know why. Oh, so is this saying like today what it is, or?
Yeah, that's today. Mm-hmm.
Reported 1 hour. So this is actually not accurate because, you know, it might just be a really good day in Riverside. But because I remember reading in various air quality reports that, you know, Riverside is not the best place, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's no, I mean, of course we have the mountains that are, this is a valley that we're in, so I think everything
that's part of the problem. So today's probably a fluke in terms of, or, you know, it's not representative of what the norm is. Mm-hmm. It's not only about ozone, there's also particles like 2.5 and PM10 and PM2.5. And then there's other things as well, of course. There's just a bunch of things in the air. And usually Southern California is pretty bad. Orange County is better in Southern California, especially if you're by the coast, but Riverside could be problematic. So it could be your immune system is reacting to something in the environment. And what happens is, you know, when you're getting sun actually increases inflammation in the short term, especially nitric oxide. And if you already have inflammation because some kind of stressor, then, you know, nitric oxide can be produced in different ways. It could either be produced in ways that, relax your blood vessels and move blood around your body, or it could, be fuel to an inflammatory issue. So if you're having the underlying inflammation, more general inflammation, it could kind of fuel it a bit, and so you're much more susceptible to issues related to the sun. So you might be getting red blotches, and that's probably like it probably has to do with nitric oxide.
Okay.
So the solution, I mean, if you can, I would try to go to a different area, let's say, and then get sun. Like, go away for the summer for a month and get sun, and then see how you feel, right? If you're not getting the same issues, then again, it's not so much the sun, it's how the sun is reacting to your physiology when in this situation. Because you weren't always reacting to the sun.
Right.
And that's not an uncommon issue where people who have inflammatory issues they start reacting to the sun. You could say that there's people who have like certain autoimmune conditions that then they then have photosensitivity in different ways. This doesn't seem like something like that, right?
Yeah, no, it doesn't seem like that. That's why I asked, because
it doesn't seem like lupus or anything, or so again, it's something that if it's not an autoimmune condition, and you might want to just check antibodies anyway, and if the antibodies do come up higher, again, it probably has to do with your environment causing some kind of inflammatory response. But I would probably check your antibodies just to make sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if not, then again, photosensitivity can occur in people with inflammatory issues because the sun actually does increase inflammation. Now it's the same like exercise. Exercise also increases inflammation, but if your body's broken, then exercise can deplete your energy and then, make you feel even worse.
Right. That's what I have all
Right.
the time.
That's where, CFS, it's like, well, they have exercise intolerance, even though, every study shows how healthy exercise is.
Right.
Same thing with sun. Sun is super healthy, but then if you have something that is taking what usually is good about the sun, let's say nitric oxide, or it stimulates the immune system, but it also suppresses the immune system. But the nitric oxide is definitely something that can get out of control if you already have an inflammatory issue. So the best thing is that it happened. The best clue is that it happened after you moved. And I would study, it's not so much for this, call right now, this webinar, but I would study the air quality of California, what contaminants are in the air in Riverside, and then study it in Springfield, Missouri.
Okay.
That's one possibility. And then the other possibility is contaminants in your own home, which is also a very significant possibility. So that's, sometimes you gotta be a bit of your own detective to see what particularly, like, is it, there's 100 different chemicals in the air, right? So it can get a bit complex, and then there's 100 different issues that you can have in your home. But we know of some big issues with the air, such as ozone, PM10, and PM2.5, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also know, and also CO2, and just, there's other kinds of common pollution indexes. And when it comes to your own home, there's mold and VOCs. Those are the two biggest ones. So those are things that you want to like pay attention to the most, but there could be other things brewing in your home. Mold is also a big beast, because what exactly species? You could have mold in one home and mold in another, but you might react to a certain species. And VOCs are an umbrella term for a lot of chemicals. It could be formaldehyde, it could be other things. So it gets really complex to test each thing. But what you can do is you can move to a different city and see if a different place, like a place with low pollution, and see how you're doing, and try to get like a clean house. That will just take away as many variables as possible. So, and then stay outside a lot. Be outside in a clean house, have the windows open in the summer.
Which is what I had in Springfield, but I can't really move because I'm helping my sisters take care of our grandmother. So.
No, I understand. I'm not saying, I'm not giving you like concrete action of what you do right now, because I don't know what your life is like.
Yeah.
But what I am saying is you want to understand what is causing your issues. So, in the future, if you move again in 10 years or 5 years, you're going to know you're only going to move to a place that has lower whatever.
Right.
Okay. Or if it has to do with your house, you're going to only move to a house that you might check it for different issues. So you just want to isolate what the issue is. Once you know what it is, what the underlying issue is, then you could make better decisions in the long run. You're not going to just move in a day. I understand that. That's not my advice. But when you understand what the issue is, then you can plan for the long term and implement that plan. I don't know if that's also the only thing. Again, there could be other issues going on, but it's the most telling when you move from a place and a month later the issues start.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
My pleasure. Have a great day. So yeah. Next question. Joe, the self-decode special report methylation gene states Joe himself is homozygous, which is present in about 4% of the population. With this mutation, the enzyme function should be reduced by about 70%. It might explain some of the health issues that he has dealt with. I too am homozygous. Would you please share details? What influences has it had, and what you have or plan to do about it? I mean, again, it's mainly an issue if you're not getting enough folate, especially methylfolate or some of the active folates. So we do have a bunch of posts on it. We have a few posts that have to do with that, but I wouldn't worry about it too much if you are getting enough methylfolate, which you can get from a lot of leafy green vegetables in your diet, or you can get by taking a supplement. So I wouldn't concern yourself too much with that, as long as you're making sure you have enough folate. But I do take a supplement for that, and I think it's something that has an ability to contribute to various conditions, but it's not a be-all, end-all, especially if you're taking methylfolate. Hi, Joe. Should CRP or HSCRP be elevated in case of leaky gut, or it is not? When it is elevated, so the question is, should CRP be elevated when there's leaky gut? The answer is it's not necessarily the case. If it is elevated, it's not elevated by a lot. So it's not a good test for measuring leaky gut. When it is elevated, virus or bacterial infection or autoimmune process, it could be any of the above. It's impossible to know based on, without any other data. Hi, Joe. I have had my DNA test done with 23andMe and got all the self-decode extra reports. I've also done Viome gut bacteria and a UK-based Thriva Advanced, with thyroid, which I am waiting on the results. What I'd like to know is how best to weigh the results, especially when there is conflicting diet advice. I'm trying so hard to lose 80 pounds, but I keep running out of motivation after 2 to 3 months, and it takes me 8 to 12 months to get back on track. I'm 6 feet, 280 pounds, 50 years old. Thanks in advance. You're probably not doing the right things in terms of trying to lose weight if you're running out of motivation. I would like to know what you're doing. First of all, I already see that you're a bit misguided in terms of what you're trying to do, because you're trying to just tackle this with diet. I think diet is maybe like 25% of maybe 30% of why people are overweight. So yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of different factors, probably 100, or more. But some of the big ones are diet. Diet is definitely a big one. There's obviously how many calories you eat is within diet, and then there's the macronutrient content, and then there's the specific food. All these, the specific foods. So all these things have an impact within diet on your weight, but then there's a lot of other things that are actually even more important, I would say, than diet. Like there's the rest of the 70% things that are not diet. So I think if you're just trying to tackle the 30%, and you might be not doing the best job there. So I think that's a lot of times the problem is people try to like focus on the diet, which is maybe 30%, and then they try really hard. They consume a lot less calories, and when you consume less calories, your motivation actually goes down. And then they might be doing things that are overly strict and not doing necessarily the right diet. So it might help you, right? You might lose some weight, but then you're just going to bounce back once you lose motivation. You basically, the way I see it is, you're using a lot of your motivation reserve to do something that might be 15%, 20%, which is okay. You might lose some weight, but I don't think it's sustainable, right? I think having a healthy lifestyle, making sure certain things you're doing are sustainable. For example, one quick tip is, ice baths or cold showers, or, just wearing less layers when you're outside, right? Cold is one of the best ways to increase fat burning. That's something that you kind of just get used to over time. You get used to, being cooler, not wearing the thick covers at night. That's a quick hack to basically, lose weight without putting in a lot of effort. I mean, sometimes it might be a little annoying if it's cold, and also, for me, it was a process to make sure I was cooler at night. In the beginning, when I got rid of the covers, it got very cold, but then your body just gets used to it. I'm not too cold. You don't want to be too cold. If you're waking up in the middle of the night, that's a problem. But you also don't want to be hot or sweating at night. You want to be a little on the cooler side. And then also cold showers and things like that. So cold is just one hack that you can do in various ways that will probably, it's sustainable over the long run. You don't want to go crazy with it and just like, you could go crazy with it, but, it's a pretty good hack that over the long run, it's sustainable. Same with, there's other things as well, but basically I'm saying that I think you're going about it the wrong way, and you need to think about how to lose weight. Again, these are more questions. Like Self-Hack Secrets goes through the main things of how to be healthy, and those things are also related to, like, if you keep those things, then that will also cause weight loss. Things like, getting a lot of light in the day, cutting out the light at night. These have a very significant impact on weight. So light is probably like 30% of weight, or maybe 20% or whatever. There was a study I read that said it could explain about 32% of the variance in weight. So, that's our lives right now are very different. We get too much light at night and not enough light in the day, and our circadian rhythms are out of whack. So these kinds of things are more long-term things, and it doesn't require more motivation to, let's say, not get light at night. Wear blue blocking glasses, turn the lights down, use F-Lux, like really cut down on the light at night, go on a light diet at night, and then go and get a lot of light in the day, right? This is not something that's a motivational issue. It's more of a lifestyle issue. And so I think if you're required to use motivation, a lot of motivation for doing what you're doing it something wrong. It's the same with diet. That you have to have a diet that you can stick with long term. If you find that you're using too much motivation for things, then your lifestyle is wrong. You got to change your lifestyle rather than, for example, you can go to, if you have to see what in particular you're having trouble with motivation. If you're having trouble staying away from sugar, you find you were using too much motivation, you have to structure your life that you don't have sugar in your house, and other things like that, right? You might not want to go to, again, it depends what exactly you're having motivational issues, but the point is that you want to make sure that whatever you're doing is not draining your motivation, because if it is, it won't last. We have a finite amount of motivation, and I think it's not the way people way back when didn't use motivation to be thin. They just had a different lifestyle. That's really what it comes down to. Hi, Joe. About 3 to 4 years back, I was silly enough to try MMS, which you probably have heard of. I now believe this is part of a reason my health went down. And I now have some chronic fatigue. Maybe it damaged. I don't think the MMS damage you long term, probably. I do know about MMS, so let me see what. Okay, so MMS is chlorine dioxide, and people take it to combat infections. And there's something to it. There's some infections that are susceptible to chlorine dioxide. However, chlorine dioxide is not a safe compound, so you got to be very careful when doing that kind of stuff. Does it have long-term damage 4 years later? I don't know how much you took or what happened there. Maybe if you took a dose that was like maybe if you took an extreme dose or something. I don't know the background, so I don't know if that is what caused it. But what I do know is people who are taking MMS usually have issues they're trying to solve to begin with. And so I don't know if that was the start of your issues. You probably had something going on before, and that's why you were even looking into that. It's kind of something, it's a rabbit hole you don't go down unless you've got like issues. But you can inform me differently. I lost over 20 pounds on a keto diet, which revealed underlying gut infections. A doctor's data GI map test showed amoebas So I'm thinking a detox is in order, but my biggest concern is making certain my GI tract, kidneys, and liver are working adequately. I've read that people get worse if they aren't ready. I also see people complaining about Herxheimer reactions. They sound miserable. Is suffering really necessary during a detox cleanse? No, I don't think suffering is necessary. If you're suffering, I actually don't believe in suffering. I don't believe in Herxheimer reactions, really. I mean, not as significantly as people think. Basically, there's a difference between Herxheimer reactions and side effects. And Herxheimer reaction really is just a side effect. You take a substance and you get a side effect from it, right? The reason you're getting that side effect is because it could be because you took something that's killing bacteria and then your body's reacting to that bacteria. That's a possible cause. But let's think about this in fundamental terms. A Herxheimer reaction is a type of side effect. And what that side effect is coming from, I guess is relevant, because if you're killing bacteria, then you could say, well, kind of no pain, no gain. You take the pain now, you get better later. However, I've rarely found people who get Herxheimer reactions and then all of a sudden they're better after, they continued with it and then they got better. I think most of the time Herxheimer reactions get confused with side effects. You take something, you have side effects from it. And so just like any other side effects, whether it's from a drug or anything, you want to minimize it. And so I don't think the body is has a bunch of detox methods that don't rely on suffering. So I actually think detoxing should not have Herxheimer reactions, really. Could be that if you're in a precarious state and you take something that kills an infection, you could get a reaction. I just think that that concept is way overblown, and what people need to, I think more likely is simply that people are getting side effects from what they're taking. Okay. I'm also not a big fan of the enemas for detox. I think there's a lot of other ways to detox that don't involve enemas. For example, like sauna. Cold therapy. I mean, a lot of kinds of, exercise can help you detox. I don't think enemas are just something that are a bit overhyped. What is your preference for genetic testing? Hi, Joe. I have been doing my due diligence in sourcing genetic testing for patients, and I wanted to get your opinion, as you like to do research info on products. I've narrowed it down to Anant and Nutrigenomics. Curious if you have a genetic test you like. Yeah, well, I'm not sure if you're aware, but I have founded a company called Self-Decode. So Self-Decode is a genetics platform that helps analyze your genetics. And so if you're doing genetic testing for patients, I think it's really good actually to use Self-Decode, because number one is every patient that you get, you can download the gene reports. For practitioners who are on the monthly plan, it's unlimited patients and unlimited downloads for the gene reports. So you can take a patient, take their genes, upload it to self-decode, and then you can just download a bunch of gene reports that have a value of like $200, and so every patient will come away happy that they got that they did a session with you, because you're giving them an instant value that they would have to pay like $100 otherwise. And so, so I think that that's one feature. Another is that it lets you dive deep. It's a whole platform, so you can really do detective work if you have a very complex patient. And so I think that's another benefit. And I think I've looked at the other platforms, and I think it's much better than both of the ones you mentioned, Nutrigenomics and Enantlife. So I think you want to give self-decode a try first. Go to selfdecode.com, and you're gonna use the practitioner account, which is $99 a month. Otherwise, you can only have one upload. So if you have one upload, you can't use it as a practitioner. Hi, Joe. Although I know there are different forms and they have different effects, could you maybe give us like your top 2 choices for general magnesium supplementation? I'm confused by all the choices and opinions on what type, brand, etc. Also, I know how much zinc do you recommend supplementing per day for a person with pyroluria diagnosis? My choice for magnesium is the Natural Calm has a chewable magnesium, like magnesium candy. I honestly just do that. It's easier, and I take it with calcium candy. It has a bit of sugar, but it's not a lot. And as far as how much zinc I recommend, 15 to 30 milligrams a day, I think is a fair amount. If you're on the lectin avoidance diet, it could help also to take a bit of copper if you're taking 30 milligrams of zinc. Like 1 milligram is probably a good idea. So probably 1 milligram for every 20 milligrams about of zinc. That's what I would recommend. But if it also depends on what your diet is like, if you're getting a lot of copper in your diet. Plant-based diets have a lot of copper. More paleo diets have less copper. So, if you come in from a plant-based diet for a long time, probably just better off taking zinc. Okay, does anyone have any questions? If not, we will get off as the questions are done. So let's see. Where is... Oh, here it is. Okay, the chat. Which supplement do you take for methylfolate? Any methylfolate supplement is good. We do have one on the post, I'm assuming. I have a compound heterozygous MTHFR. I personally use pure encapsulation folate. Just make sure it's the L5 methylfolate form of folate. I hope this helps. Yeah, that's a fine one. You only need 400 micrograms a day, so 1,000 is more than you need, but I think it's fine. It's not dangerous or anything. Do you have any recommendation for mercury detox? My recommendation is, well, first of all, how do you know you have mercury toxicity? But in general, something good for mercury is lipoic acid, so R-lipoic acid. And then also selenium is good. You want to take minerals that compete with mercury. So selenium and lipoic acid are two fine choices, but there's a bunch of them. There must be. We actually have a post on heavy metal detox, and so I would recommend reading that. We go through a whole list of all the things you can do. I mean, there's some of them are also pharma-based, like DMSA, but I think for a natural product, our lipoic acid is good. Okay. Thanks, everyone, and we will, until next time, have a great day. Bye-bye.